So last thing that we want to really talk about was the live remote head-to-head
Yes.
option that you've been creating for teams. From what I understand, the VRC change-up game and the XIQ Rise Above game have been adapted so then multiple teams can play the same match without physically being on the same field. So the scoring has been adjusted so then the different fields interact with each other, but the robots don't need to interact with each other.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the hardest part, right? So live remote is all of these robotics programs teach some technical skills, but what's most important about all these programs, you'll hear it from first, best, mate, any of these, is the soft skills, right? The problem solving, the troubleshooting, the collaboration, the communications. And we didn't just want to have a remote skills competition. We still wanted that students would collaborate with other students and compete against other students. So we've been working tirely on this, and I'm glad to see that you have our very, very first live remote competition ever happened about a month ago. And basically, you have to have a field for each robot, and we have cameras set up. And it's a peer-to-peer communications, right? So each alliance is talking to each other, and it also talks to a server. The delay when you have the peer-to-peer communications is less than 10 milliseconds.
Wow.
And if we have a communications difficulty and have to go through the server, it's only about a half a second delay. So it truly is real time. But if you look at this year's game, you weren't going to be playing this year's game virtually or remotely that way because there was a D-scoring it. So the GDC, led by Grant Cox, that's comprised of both REC Foundation and Vex Robotics employees, they really had to look at what we can do. So they changed the scoring. The setup's the same, the field's the same, the game elements are the same, but they changed the scoring and they added the end game for more dynamic play. It was really important to still have the dynamic play. So basically, you are still trying to score as many objects as possible. You're still trying to get the tic-tac-toe aspect, so where you take ownership, and if you have a whole row or a diagonal, you get bonus points. But with the end game aspect, you can double, triple your scores. I guess triple your scores, excuse me.
How does this work in an alliance, by the way? Hey, fun fans, if you're into tabletop games, come check out our new partner channel, Boardlandia, on YouTube. New game unboxings, reviews, let's plays, and more. Plus, we're giving away free board games on their channel and special promo codes on some of the best prices you'll find anywhere. Click the link in the description or search for Boardlandia on YouTube.
Yeah, so we'll have, just like our current tournament manager, right? So we're going to start small. We're going to have 12, 14, 16 team tournaments. And they'll each we're in a typical Vex Robotics competition. Another thing we do really, really well is most teams get 8 matches, right? So this will probably have 4 or 5 matches. And then you will have rankings, and you'll still do your alliance selection, right? So seed 1 may select seed 3. And then at that point, we'll take a break. We'll allow them to strategize, and then we'll go back and we'll play our elimination format just like we would in an in-person competition. So this is great technology. The live remote is something that I think changes competitive robotics because I think next year, we'll still have more in-person events. People like that. But think about Hawaii. You have all these small islands. Hawaii is a robotics hotbed. But there's some small islands that don't get to go to any competitions except for the state championship. But now they can still have competitions. Or think about one of our great initiatives with the Native American tribes. Now, all these Native American tribes that have robotics kit but only play once or twice a year,
Sure.
Now we can have a Native American league, right? They can use this. Or think about rural America that can't travel to events. So I think this is a game changer. Live remote is the future. And it doesn't have to be limited to the REC Foundation. I think the technology we've developed, I think FTC teams could do it. I think FRC teams could do it. Would you need to change your scoring a little bit? Probably, but FTC already has a 1 robot skill score, right? So you could have it compete against another robot, right? And I think the REC Foundation could help first do it. If they came to us and asked how to do it, we want students to be in engineering. We want students to have workforce careers. So we think this is the future. Nothing is ever going to replace in-person events, but I think this is going to allow us to reach more students.
Ishan, how would you feel this could be implemented for FTC?
Yeah, so with this year's game, a lot of it's about how many rings are going to be on the field. So if you could have it so then as soon as a ring is scored, the other alliance is allowed to drop in a ring. that would make it a lot more interactive, and it would make there be a little bit more dynamics to this game. This game was very changed since it wasn't released at Worlds and it was released in September. They had the summer to change it around, so then it was meant for a virtual sphere, but definitely something I would look into. One thing I did have a question about was in FTC, they aren't mandating cameras to take video. Are you guys sending out cameras to teams that may not be able to afford it, since accessibility is something that you were looking at?
Yeah, we'll have grant opportunities for teams, but the nice thing is any camera. I actually knew you would ask this. I guess so. I said. So let me bring this up here. Here we go. So as long as you have a USB webcam that's 720 pixel or higher resolution, it can be used, right? So some of the cheapest cameras, we've tried it with some of the cheapest cameras and some of the oldest computers, and we can make this work. So, sure. But yes, we will, again, accessibility, affordability, as we have grants to help teams registrations this year. We still have our very popular event partner grants to help EPs run events. And for the first time ever, the REC Foundation is running some qualifying events too. Generally, we don't do that. We leave it to our event partners and we just run VEX Worlds, but we'll run some events to fill in the gaps too. But we want to make students, one of my biggest fears for all of our programs out there is if we take the year off, we lose the momentum, right? We're growing 5,000 teams a year, 4,000 to 5,000 teams a year. The other programs are growing. And I'm afraid we lose 3 or 4 years of momentum if we don't keep the students engaged this season.
Thanks for watching. If you want more fun content, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Thanks to all of our co-executive producers on Patreon and Tier 2 Plus subscribers on Twitch, keeping fun loud, live, and independent.